But I think that the major policy issues and the things that are going to require strategy across a number of fields and endeavors is going to be trying to find a way to kind of get eye to eye even with China again. I mean, I think China is ahead, actually standing kind of taller than America in places like Africa and starting to in South America. Just because of the sheer audacity and just kind of in some ways the quietness at which they have infiltrated all of these areas of influence and economy. So he's going to have that. But, domestically, the biggest thing he's going to have to do there, and it's going to require some attention. Who knows how much attention? But I mean, he talked about draining the swamp. I don't think anyone realized how broad and deep that swamp was. It's going to require some effort. Now he's doing something interesting. You mentioned his cabinet. I mean, it's kind of been, unique, I think, for a president to bring in so many outsiders. This is not a political cabinet. This is a cabinet in which Trump thinks that he can get something done, which is surprising to me after being there for 4 years. I would think that he would think nothing gets done in Washington.
Yeah.
But I don't know, he kind of like lives on that kind of challenge. It feeds him. So we'll see.
We'll definitely see what ends up happening. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see what international influence he has. I think you're right. He'll probably focus on the Ukraine thing, although Putin, as early as today, says that he's striving to complete what he's started in the Ukraine.
He knows who's coming, right?
Right. He wants to get it done, but at the same time, Ukrainian intelligence just also put a report out that North Korean troops suffered heavy losses. I don't know what the deal was, but the North Korean troops that maybe Russia might have been hoping to capitalize on, maybe to help with Ukraine somehow, because of that whole alliance between them, Iran, China, that there's an issue with the ability for North Korea to step up because of some recent losses that they've suffered.
He
And then
apparently he apparently put them over in the Kursk, in the area that the Ukraine had actually invaded in Russia, and apparently they were not equals to the Ukrainians at all. Of course, Ukrainians have they're not really doing what they're doing by infantry, really. I mean, it's all the drones and aeronautical ability to put explosives at the right place at the right time.
Well, and there's something to be said too when we think about that. When you think about North Korea, I mean, North Korea is a closed society. You don't go in and you don't come out. It's not like you're going to vacation. Oh, I'm going to go vacation on the beaches of France, because if you do, you're never going to come back from the beaches of France. So you have to wonder sometimes, as much as North Korea is drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled, I would think without the backing of the Chinese army and or the Russian army, really, I don't think North Korean army, when it comes to foot soldier to foot soldier, is really going to have the ability to be successful. Because it looks to me like all they do inside their bubble is train and put on the pomp and circumstance. But I often wonder how really reliable would the North Korean army be? I mean, there's lots of them, but how reliable would they be when facing a country that actually has a budget and has been involved in wars outside of their own country? You would think that without the support and the manpower of other countries, North Korea would flop on the battlefield.
Oh, I think you're right about that. I think you're absolutely right about that. I think that they're probably underfed. I think that their training is probably not of the open-minded sort where you would have genuine kind of war games going on that really test the ability of people to strategize, react, all that kind of thing. I know that
Yeah.
their weaponry would be, and their training for weaponry would be very, very limited, it would seem to me.
I was going to say, and even if you let them go out and fight with China somewhere or go out and fight with Russia somewhere, they're not going to come back. So,
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like if you were a North Korean and you were sent to the Ukraine and now you're in the Kursk, right? And you're looking out and you're seeing, wow, fields of grain, you know, houses, there's there's electricity.
Yep.
It's like, wouldn't you like say the first Ukrainian person I see to, I'm going to surrender.
Yep.
It's like, are you going to put up a tooth and nail fight in a situation like that? I think absolutely not. I think
Yeah.
that was more of a parlor trick, maybe some kind of an advertising gimmick than sensible strategy. What did they have,
Yeah.
like 10, 20,000 North Koreans? It's like
It's a drop in
10
the
would be
bucket
saying,
compared to Russia and China and Iran. I mean, you- when you think about it, the reality is the scary part of North Korea is that we really don't know their nuclear capability. Our intel doesn't, because what we get are only little bits of intel. So we really don't know how their nuclear capability is, and if it is what they say it is, then that is a threat to the global community. It's even more of a threat because of the alliance that North Korea has with Iran, with Russia, with China, because those other three powers also have pretty stabilized nuclear proliferation to decimate, their enemy. So the scary, questionable part about North Korea is if they have what they say they have in nuclear proliferation missiles, that's where the concern would be. I would not lose sleep on their manpower.
well, the thing about it was, I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember if it was in Trump's first term or it was Obama before him. But the Russians and the Chinese both had there was an effort to try to curtail North Korea's nuclear ambitions, and it looked, especially in the press that we get here in the West, it looked like we had partners in Russia and China in trying to do that. And then there came at a certain point when it came like maybe America was feeling its oats and thinking, if they're not going to do it, we're going to do it, that we actually ended up seeing from those countries, no, 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 no. You take a step toward North Korea and it's war with us. And so, it's one of those situations where they're unwilling to do anything about it, but they are willing to keep us from doing anything about it. I doubt that they have a whole lot more control, but Russia must have something to get North Korea to send them the troops that they are. Russia has some kind of leverage. Putin has some kind of leverage in North Korea. So the whole China issue, right? I mean, all of this revolves around that. A little bit of Russia, but I mean, so much of all that's going on over there really revolves because, in the first Korean War, that's what turned the tide. You had Russian pilots. They weren't really accomplishing anything for North Korea back in the 50s, early 50s. And when MacArthur kind of went rogue and did what Truman told him not to do and started, invading the North and putting North Korea's existence in jeopardy, then all of a sudden we had hundreds of thousands of Chinese troops pour in.
2 million. Your
Yeah,
history books say 2+ million Chinese troops come flying through the border that day after Thanksgiving, and within a matter of 6 weeks, they're pushed right back where they started from. I mean,
and
that's a
and then
lot.
suddenly South Korea was in jeopardy of existence.
Yeah,
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 so
yeah, yeah.
it's did we learn the lesson from that? I think we probably did. Is that North Korea is just not a place that we should that it's not a hill we should die on. But
Mm-mm.
at the same point in time, the craziness that's
In
there.
there. It's definitely an enigma when it comes to global power, because we don't really know the impact nuclear wise from them. And I think that's the scary. And the other thing with, I was reading an
We
article, I
know
think
they
it
can
was,
shoot missiles.
we do know that. The article I was reading this morning on Newsmax is talking about Iran's Ayatollah in the ninth inning, because it was saying their failing economy and their current energy crisis. With Donald Trump now coming into office, where are they going to be players, and how's NATO going to get involved if they are to do something against Israel? And did their attempts to try to annihilate Israel really cause their political, if you will, internal demise, which would make sense because Israel just waited until the right moment to attack and hit some major key places in Iran. But again, the other concern about Iran would be the similar thing to North Korea. Although Iranian troops, I think, are prepared, much more equipped, and I think
Mm.
foot to foot soldier, that would be a concern. Their nuclear proliferation and all of their abilities is a high concern, much more than North Korea. But the big scary factor here, I think, for if we're to look at end time stage here, is the alliances that are amongst all of them, and the fact that Turkey's coming in and can play all four of those pretty well.
Yeah,
I think
like a
that's the
puppet.
big thing. Yeah, no kidding. It's like the here you have Russia, who is its own in and of itself. If we're to look at military power here, we look at the nuclear power Russia does have. Russia does have the mobilization of troops, although I think their mobilization of troops and their foot to foot combat has taken a hit. I do not think they are quite as strong as they were a year ago, but I do think they are still strong enough, 2, 3+ million strong, to be a concern. Iran, obviously, foot soldier wise, nuclear issues. North Korea, the nuclear issues. China, on all levels of military, that would be a concern for me. And
Well,
the
it
fact
just
that,
they can produce
yeah,
the weaponry that's necessary
to do it.
to cause problems everywhere.
And then the fact that those four are all aligned and have shaken hands and agreed to be there for one another. And then Turkey has come in and has befriended everybody. I mean, Turkey's
Listen,
befriended Israel,
well,
and at some time it's like, Israel, let's support Israel, and then the very next sentence it's let's all attack and kill Israel. So I mean, he's playing the global
he can
realm
do it.
wonderfully.
He can do it so well because here's the thing. He's a member of NATO.
Yeah, that's it.
Turkey's a member of NATO. So what he can do if he plays, in the shadow world very well, he can get other players to do his, anti-NATO kinds of things, like attack Israel, right? He can get them to do the dirty work. And then when they get destroyed, because we all know what's going to happen if somebody tries to come after Israel, it's,
Yep.
God's going to step in and things are going to suddenly look a whole lot different. But see, then he has the this unique position, playing things the way that have been played, to step into that vacuum and be the hero, to be the
Yeah.
the one who's trying to bridge all the barriers between enemies and bring peace and all of that kind
And
of
I'm
thing.
and I'm sure with all of the alliances that he's recently, I shouldn't say alliances because he's always had the Arab alliances from the Arab nations because of Turkey being Turkey. But I think
Well,
with all of the recent political interactions he's had with those Arab countries, I think he is financially set to do what he needs to do. And he's not, no matter what happens over there, Iran's the one that's financially broke and energy broke here. Turkey's not, although I'm sure Turkey was the instigator to get Iran to do what Iran, like you said, needed to
yeah.
do. So Turkey's going to come out financially fine. And in the end, and everybody else
When
is
the
going to
dust
be
settles,
broke.
he's going to be the only one riding a
Yeah,
horse, right? I mean,
yeah, no,
he's got no, he has people in Libya. I mean, that whole network that ends up being the Ten Horns, right? It's all there, just on the shelf, almost ready to go on a moment's notice. All of that could happen so quickly,
hmm
just incredibly quickly. Even the whole notion of a battle that would look like a fulfillment of Ezekiel 38 and 39. That's going to involve Russia. It's going to involve Iran. It's going to involve Libya and a few other nations as well. But all of that is it could come into play so quickly.
and the scary thing is it could happen like that. Like not just quick, like we could wake up tomorrow morning and it'd be like, whoa, this is like this has already taken place
All the
because
pieces are in place.
yeah,